One of the questions I get the most is, Tilly, how do I build decks? I can't tell when I need 2 copies of a card, 1 copy of a card, or whether to just exclude it outright. So today, I want to take you through my deck building process as a top 100 ranked player in Pokemon Pocket, and I'm also going to go through some of the common mistakes I see when building decks. If you guys are enjoying the content, you want to better yourself as a player, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. So let's talk about step 1, which is just building the core of the deck. Now, number 1, we have our research and Pokeball tax. 2 research, 2 Pokeball. There are really not a lot of decks that are going to want to veer away from this, only in very special circumstances. So for the most part, you're throwing 2 Pokeball, 2 research into every deck. You got 4 cards there already figured out. Now, I'm going to do Charizard today because it is a fairly simple deck, and you can apply what I'm saying to a bunch of other things. Now, for the Charizard core, okay, we know that we want to play the Charizards, and we know that we also want to play the Moltres in order to get our Charizard set up. We need some way to get all of this energy into play, and Moltres will accelerate that for us. Now, which basics do we play? So I'm going to give you the general rule of thumb from the real trading card game. This may not even apply to most cards right now, but certainly will in the future as we get more and more multiple copies. I mean, you can see we already have 2 Charmanders. There could be a day when we have 4 Charmanders to choose from. So how do we decide? Number 1 thing to look at, the retreat cost. Less retreat is better, almost always. All Charmanders have 1 retreat cost. Okay, so now we got to move on to the next one. How much HP do they have, and is that number even relevant? All Charmanders have 60 HP, but imagine a world where there was a Charmander with 50 HP. Well, there are Carnivines out there. There are Skarmories out there. Those are early hitting Pokemon that would perfectly take a clean knockout on the Charmander. We really don't want to play a 50 HP Charmander. We want to play the 60 HP Charmander. Next up, what is the attack? This is the last one, but sometimes this can change everything. Imagine if there was a 50 HP Charmander that had a Call for Family attack, and it like put a fire Pokemon on the bench or added a fire Pokemon to your hand. Even though it has less HP, you probably want to play that because, yeah, it'll make your time against Carnivine and Skarmory worse. But if things are going slow for you, well, you're now pulling cards out of your deck. You're pulling evolution pieces out of your deck. You would probably want to run an attack that strong. So for this circumstance, the Charmanders are similar enough. Which one would I rather play? Well, there's another one that does 28 damage and it doesn't discard a fire energy. I would rather play the 31. You are almost never attacking with Charmander, but this at least gives you the option to turn 1 knock out a Magikarp, a card you will see all the time. It will at least, that's a free win. That's a free win right there. If you're able to turn 1, knock out a Magikarp, and your opponent doesn't have the second one or has no bench at all, cool. You just won the game off of that attack because you were playing the correct Charmander. So we'll add 2 of those. And then for the Charmeleon, less complicated as well. They are just about similar enough. I like to run this one because if there's ever a time where you're attacking with Charmeleon and you need to attack with Charmeleon, you probably don't have the time to attach 3 energy to it. That so rarely comes up. If you're attacking with Charmeleon, it's because you're trying to get into a fast Charizard and you just want to get that 40 damage out, or maybe you need something else to clean up the game and a Moltres isn't going to do it, so you attach to the Charmeleon to hit something for 40 in return. Again, these are really not going to come up that often, but as you're building decks in the future, these are the things you want to look for. Retreat cost, HP, and then what is the attack? Attack, if it's powerful enough, can trump everything, but for the most part, go off of the retreat cost and the HP. So now we have all of our Pokemon and all of our, core trainer cards that we need. So now we got to think about, okay, what about Charizard makes it so strong? Why am I even playing this card? And this is something to look at when you're building a new deck to begin with. How you can sort of tell if a card is going to be good or not. Take a look at what the strongest version of this card does. Charizard, he looks to just, I set up this stage 2, I attack twice, I win. You look at another card. What is another card that does something very, very similar? Well, you have Blastoise EX. You take a look at Blastoise EX. He does almost the same. If you get 5 energy on him, you can likely attack twice and knock out basically everything in front of you. The reason why we end up playing Charizard over Blastoise is because, well, how do we get energy onto Blastoise? Yeah, we could use Manaphy, and that's fine. Manaphy is really squishy while I'm trying to set up a stage 2, so Manaphy probably won't get a whole lot of attacks off, and then I have Misty to rely on. It's just not a great time. Charizard is the better set up a big stage 2 and attack with it. So something you want to look at is, does this card actually do anything better than another card? If the answer to that is no, you should probably just steer clear from it and go with whatever card is trying to accomplish the same goal, but already does it better. So, Charizard, its goal is to get set up, swing twice, win the game. Can't get much more simple than that. So how do we do that? Well, our game plan really needs to be get into Moltres as soon as possible, start using Inferno Dance on a Charmander. Okay, well, what are the cards that can help us do that? Well, X-Speed is going to help out. It's going to let us retreat the Charmander into the Moltres. And then we have cards like Pokemon Communication. We will need a Pokemon Communication in order to more consistently get this Stage 2 set up. Usually in Stage 2 decks, you only want to run one Communication. See, we're not running too many Pokemon, so using 2 Communication is kind of like diminishing returns. It'll improve your outs to find it, but for the most part, 1 Communication is going to get you the exact card you need. You don't really need 2 of them. And now, so now that we have this, okay, we have our cards to help us get into Charizard quickly. We want to take a look at what can my opponent do that will make my strategy null and void, what will cause me to lose the game. Well, Charizard, the first thing you want to look at is how much HP does Charizard have? He has 180. Okay, what are the big damage numbers that other decks in this game are hitting for? 170. All we want to do is attack with Charizard twice. The same Charizard, we're not using 2 of them. Okay, how do we make sure that Charizard stays alive? He has 180 HP, he can live the 170, but a lot of decks are playing Rocky Helmet, so that's an instant minus 20 health right there. Okay, so we probably need some giant capes, because I can see that situation coming up all the time. Next, well, what if the Charizard gets damaged beforehand? What if he gets hit with a Darkrai Ping? Okay, well, we might want some potions in here as well. All we're doing at this point is adding as many cards as we can that we can think of, and then we will deconstruct from there. So another thing is, well, yeah, obviously, it'd be nice to have a Sabrina in here. Maybe we don't want to hit exactly what's in the active spot. Sabrina would be good. And maybe we would want, oh, I don't know. We could probably use a Mars to maybe slow our opponent down. That seems like it'd be good. We'd probably like an Iono to draw cards a little bit more consistently. Other than that, that's about all the trainer cards that will really do much to help this deck execute its strategy. You could also argue, well, it's so important that I get into the Charizard immediately. So maybe I want a Leaf, or maybe I want just a basic Shaman, because I can search him out with a Pokeball. I can get right into the, I can just search out the Shaman, and then we have a great way to retreat into our Pokemon. So now we have 23 cards here. Okay, now my advice is, when you're first starting out with the deck, keep in mind these bonus cards that we've added. Keep them in mind, think about them, but for the most part, when you first start out with a deck, you should just stick to something as consistent as possible. Don't muddy it up with these extra cards like Mars. Mars could boost your win percentage. Is it going to boost your win percentage over some other cards? I'm not sure. Now, what was our main core, right? We know that we need to get Charizard set up as fast as possible, and we need to make sure he has a giant cape on him, so when he's attacking, he cannot lose the game. Okay, so what were some of the bonus cards we added that would help us in these weird situations that are not going to come up every game, but could? Well, Potion. We're not betting on our Charizard getting hit. We are betting that we are able to get into Moltres every single turn 1, and then send up a fully HP Charizard when the time is right. What else? Well, for the most part, if I'm just attacking into the active spot with Charizard, I probably win. I might not need to Cyrus around anything. Let's take the Sabrina. Let's take the Sabrina out. Okay, well, now I'm looking at a deck that's 20 cards, and the goal here is we have our core built, right? We have Moltres, how to get into Moltres as fast as possible. We have 3 pivoting options with a Shaman and 2 X speeds. We have giant capes to boost our Charizard's HP. We have an Iono and a communication to execute that game plan just a little bit more consistently. And then we have a Mars to maybe slow our opponent down if things aren't totally going our way. Or maybe our opponent takes a knockout on Moltres and we just want to make sure they don't have the game-winning Sabrina or Cyrus. Something. We just got to set them down to 1 card for the turn. And then after that, Charizard's going to attack 1 more time and win us the game. And now we have a pretty good deck list. So the next step after this is, I don't know if you can believe it or not, you're not going to build a perfect deck list on your very first try. So what are we going to do? We're going to test the deck out. We are going to take a look. We're going to keep track. Okay, maybe as I'm playing it, Mars isn't really coming up in situations where I need it to. I don't need it. I can replace it with something else. Or maybe you play a game and you go, wow, Sabrina would have won me that game. It's just not in my deck. I should probably add this. Now, when I say all that, there's something you really need to pay attention to, and even I am guilty of it. Do not, after losing 1 game because you didn't have that 1 single card, go add it to your deck. You're going to end up deconstructing your deck way too fast and ending up with an unplayable mess. If you lose to that situation frequently, if it is coming up quite a bit or more often than you would like, then make that change, add that card, replace something in the deck list. But if it just happens 1 time and not really that, not that often, then just leave the deck list as it is. Only make changes when it's something that is frequently happening, something you can identify. You're going to get a lot of confirmation bias. It's going to make it seem like it happens way more than it does, but I would say give it 10 games. If it happens 2 or 3 times where, yeah, that card would have been really nice, okay, then think about adding it. But for the most part, don't just do it after 1 single loss. Real quick, I want to tackle a question I get all the time, which is, how do I know when to run 2 copies of a card or 1 copy of a card? The way that I like to think about it is you need to run 2 copies of a card if it is, number 1, a card you want to use every single game. There are cards that you will see that you might want to use every single game, but they might not necessarily be cards you want to use every single game right at the very beginning. So take a look here. In this Arceus Carnivine list I have, I'm playing 2 Rocky Helmet, 1 Giant Cape. I want Giant Cape just about every game. But the reason I want the Giant Cape is to put it on my Arceus when it's ready to attack. I'm not attacking with Arceus until like turn 4, turn 5. I have plenty of time to find that Giant Cape. Rocky Helmet, I want to slap a Rocky Helmet on a Carnivine immediately, like turn 1 if I could. So we're playing 2 copies of Rocky Helmet to make sure that I find that Rocky Helmet as early as possible and my Carnivine gets it. Some other things here. Double Cyrus. A lot of games come down to me going Cyrus for game. I'm playing small HP attackers or attackers that do small damage, don't necessarily finish the KO. I'm playing Rotom, which pings damage anywhere I want on the bench. I want to be using Cyrus. I want to have that Cyrus on demand every single game. I don't want to go looking for it or waiting for it. Double Red. Every single game in this deck comes down to Arceus, Ultimate Force, plus Red. I'm playing 2 because the second Red feels really, really good. There are times where I want to go Carnivine into a Darkrai. I do 70, they potion, heal that damage off. Well, I know I have a second Red. I have this 1 Red in my hand. I can use Red, take that knockout on the Darkrai. There we go. Also, just every single game comes down to being able to use Red. Mars, this is like, you're not going to have to worry about this until the very, very end of the game. It's not going to be necessary, so playing just 1 copy is fine. You can likely find it by the time, and it doesn't come up in every single game. There are other games where you don't even need to Mars because you just have the Red plus Arceus attack in hand. Mars is not in every single, it doesn't get played in every single game, so you're fine with just playing 1 of them. The rest of the cards, like Sabrina here, Sabrina isn't totally necessary. It's just nice to have in certain circumstances. You're not going to use Sabrina every single game. You don't need it every single game, but it's a very, very great option to have in your deck. Now let's talk about some common mistakes I see in deck building. Number 1 I want to talk about is you're playing a deck and you might be getting a little tilted because it's not working as consistently as you want. So you think, you know what? I'm just going to put an Iono in here, and now I have a 3rd draw supporter. Iono does not belong in a deck like this. What do I mean? Look at all of these playable cards. Pokeball. I want to fill my bench. I want to put all of my basic Pokemon on the bench. I want to attach all these tools to them. My hand is never going to be big enough to really take advantage of Iono. Very, very rarely will I have 4 cards in hand plus Iono to get the full value out of it. Iono is reserved for decks that have a lot of unplayable cards, or maybe they're just used to playing 1 card a turn, maybe 2 on some of the turns, like Charizard. Charizard does not have a whole lot of cards that you're trying to play every single turn. It gets a lot of cards stuck in its hand. Iono is good in that deck. In decks like this, where you have a bunch of playable cards, no, the Iono is not going to do anything for you. You're never going to be using it without having to trade off something major, like not playing down a Pokemon to the bench so you can hopefully find the card you're actually looking for. Not attaching a tool. It's rarely ever going to come up as good in this deck. So unless you are playing a deck that often gets its hand stuck, has a lot of cards in hand that are not playable, and you're not using more than 1 card every single turn, don't put Iono in it. It has no place in that deck. Another common mistake I see is Sabrina versus Cyrus. I don't know why. I've been seeing people play Cyrus in Charizard. Guys, the game plan, Cyrus is useful in decks where you are playing cards that either do passive damage, like Darkrai. In Darkrai, you're going to be pinging an active Pokemon. There's a very high % chance that they end up just retreating that Pokemon and putting it back on the bench, leaving damage on it. If you're not playing a deck that does passive damage or consistently takes 2 shots, there is no reason to play Cyrus. You should just be playing Sabrina over it. There's no reason for Charizard to play a Cyrus. If you are not attacking for a one-shot, if you're using Moltres to attack in most matchups, it probably means you're losing that game. Using a Cyrus, having a Cyrus in your deck is not gonna benefit you. It just won't. It will not increase that win percentage. That's already a lost game. You're already so far down that you should not be concerned about getting that couple extra, like that 1% extra win percentage by having the Cyrus for that situation. You need to be focusing on what is the strength of the deck? What am I trying to do every single game? Not, okay, what are the situations where I'm already losing and now I need a way to come back into the game? Those cards are reserved for something like Mars or Team Rocket Grunt, right? Those are much more powerful. I'm in a bit of a losing spot. I need to make my opponent not have something, or I need a way to come back in the game. These are the comeback cards. Team Rocket Grunt and Mars. Not a Cyrus in a deck that aims to take 1-shots. Now, for most decks, you just want to run a 1 Cyrus, 1 Sabrina split for the versatility. But in decks like this, Cyrus should not even be a question for you. You're not going to use that Cyrus. You just want to use Charizard and take your 1-shots and move on. Now, the last thing I want to leave you with is, okay, we have this nice, consistent deck here, but we don't have a lot of options. The thing about this game is there is consistency and then there's versatility. You might think, in this Charizard deck, it would be kind of nice to have a Dawn in case I attack with Charizard and he only has 4 energy on him, and then I can Dawn the extra energy from a Moltres up to the Charizard. Okay, and then maybe I want some of those, I want a potion or a Pokemon Center Lady in this deck in case Charizard gets damaged early and I need to heal him up. Okay, well, where are those cuts coming from? Those cuts are going to come from your consistency cards. Maybe you decide, maybe I can get away with just 1 X speed, right? And then let me get the healing cards in here. So maybe I want a potion. Okay, well, where's the potion? Where are we going to lose the potion? Well, let's say Giant Cape and Potion are about equal. So we'll play a 1-1 split of them. Now, your deck is not executing the same strategy every single game. Yeah, you have a bunch of options for these unique situations, but when it comes time to put that Charizard in the active spot and you need the Giant Cape, you might not find that Giant Cape in time. You might not be able to use it. The potion is not going to do anything for you in a situation where you have a full HP Charizard about to attack into a Rocky Helmet. Your opponent's going to be able to return KO it. You need to be very, very careful about making your deck too versatile. Again, the best decks in this game are consistent. The only decks that can get away with both being consistent and versatile are the basic attacking decks. Darkrai, Giratina, Mewtwo, Giratina, they have the luxury of being able to run all of these one of supporter cards, because oftentimes they are not cluttering their deck up with extra Pokemon or like Pokemon communications. They have all the room to play all these extra cards. They can use those cards to boost their win percentage. But for decks that need to set up, stick to consistency. Do not get too techie with it. Otherwise, you're going to lean away from your main win condition, and you're going to end up losing more on average. You're not going to find the Dawn every single time that you need to use it. You're not going to find the potion every time you need to use it. You're not going to find the giant cape every time you need to use it. Try to stay consistent. That's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this helps you in your deck building process. Please make sure to sub to the channel if you got this far. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.